There's a point in every man's life when he learns this one truth. Silence isn't weakness. It's power. Real power. We grow up thinking we need to explain ourselves. That we must talk things out. That love survives because of effort. Because of trying. Because of never giving up. But sometimes, the greatest strength is knowing when to stop. Stop chasing. Stop talking. Stop pouring into someone who's not ready to receive it. When you stop talking to a woman, you don't just go silent. You start speaking the only language that can't be misunderstood. Energy. You see, men often talk because they're afraid. Afraid of losing her. Afraid of being alone. Afraid of silence itself. But a man who's no longer afraid, that man becomes magnetic. He doesn't beg. He doesn't explain. He doesn't repeat himself. Because his silence speaks volumes. And when you go quiet, that woman, the one who took you for granted, who stopped listening, who thought you'd always be there, she notices. At first, she might pretend she doesn't. She'll post like everything's fine. She'll laugh a little louder. Live her life like nothing happened. But deep down, she hears the silence. She hears the message you didn't send. The calls you didn't make. The attention you didn't give. And suddenly, your absence becomes louder than your presence ever was. This isn't about games. This isn't about manipulation. This is about awareness. Discipline. Self-respect. This is about reclaiming your value. Not by shouting. Not by pleading. But by simply withdrawing your energy. Let her feel the space where you used to be. Let her sit in the quiet. Let her wonder. Because that space, that silence, it'll do something your words never could. It'll force her to face herself. And that's when everything begins to change. So if you've been speaking, explaining, trying to save something that keeps breaking, it might be time to stop talking and start listening to yourself. Because in that silence, you'll find something far more powerful than her validation. Your peace. When you finally step back, something shifts. Not just in her, but in you. At first, she doesn't panic. She thinks it's temporary. She tells herself, he'll come back. He always does. Because that's what she's used to. You trying. You explaining. You chasing. She thinks your silence is weakness. But what she doesn't see is that this silence, it's different. It's not silence out of hurt. Not silence out of spite. It's silence from strength. You've had enough. And not in anger, but in peace. You've realized that no matter how much you talk, how much you give, how much you try to fix things, none of it matters if you're not being heard. So this time, you step back. You go quiet. You stop texting. Stop calling. Stop explaining. And instead, you observe. Not her behavior, but your own boundaries. Your own peace. And in that moment, you start to feel something powerful. Relief. No more overthinking. No more arguing with yourself. No more trying to prove your worth to someone who stopped seeing it. You're no longer playing your game. You've left the field completely. And that's when she starts to feel it. At first, she shrugs. She scrolls her phone. Posts a photo. Laughs with friends. She convinces herself that nothing's changed. That she's fine without you. But the silence? It grows. And the longer it lasts, the louder it gets. She starts to notice the space where you used to be. Your attention. Your presence. Your energy. Gone. No good morning texts. No checking in. No arguments, even. Just peace. And for the first time, she feels something she didn't expect. uncertainty. She begins to question. Is he really done? Is he talking to someone else? Why isn't he chasing me anymore? That silence becomes a mirror. She starts to see herself differently. She replays old conversations. Thinks about the things she said. The things she didn't say. And here's the twist. She doesn't miss your words. She misses how your presence made her feel. Because now, you're not just quiet. You're gone. And not physically, but emotionally. And emotional absence? It hits different. Especially when it comes from a man who once gave her everything. Now she feels the absence. And in that absence, she starts to reflect. But here's the most important part. You didn't do this to punish her. You're not being cold. You're not being manipulative. You simply chose to respect yourself. You stepped back not to teach her a lesson, but to protect your peace. And that decision? It changes everything. You're no longer the man who reacts. You're the man who observes, who protects his energy, who walks in silence. And in that silence, she starts to listen. Her inner conflict. Silence is starting to settle in. And now, it's not just silence. It's tension. Inside her. She feels it. But she won't show it. Not yet. Instead, she plays it cool. Posts a photo. Laughs a little louder. Acts unbothered. But inside her mind, it's chaos. She's asking questions she never thought she would. Why hasn't he called? Why did he just disappear like that? Is he done with me? She scrolls through old messages. Reads your last words again. Watches your stories. But doesn't react. She wants to reach out. But she holds back. Because her pride is louder than her pain. For now. And that pride? It's what keeps her pretending. Pretending she doesn't care. Pretending you didn't matter as much as you did. But she does care. A lot more than she expected. And it's starting to bother her. See, the thing about silence is it makes people reflect. Not immediately, but slowly, relentlessly. Every hour that passes without a text from you feels heavier, more confusing, more real. She starts overthinking. Wonders if you've met someone else. Wonders if you've moved on. She's not used to this. She's used to you breaking the silence. You being the emotional anchor. You chasing. You fighting for her. But now, there's nothing. Just silence. And that silence becomes a mirror. She sees herself clearly for the first time. Her reactions. Her mistakes. Her words. She remembers the times she pushed you away. The times she tested your limits. And now she's questioning. Did I go too far? You've created a space she can't fill with distractions. Because your presence wasn't casual. It meant something. Even if she didn't say it. Now she's looking for signs. Maybe she checks your profile. Maybe she checks who liked your posts. She doesn't text. But she thinks about it daily. And that's the real shift. She's not trying to win anymore. She's trying to understand. You've changed the rhythm. And now, her mind can't keep up. Because for the first time, you're unpredictable. Not in a toxic way, but in a powerful way. She no longer controls the pace. You do. With silence. With discipline. With peace. And in that peace, you're growing. Healing. Evolving. She doesn't know who you're becoming. But she knows it's someone strong. Someone rare. Someone she's suddenly afraid to lose. And that fear? It's real. Because now she realizes you're not just silent. You're possibly gone. And not just from her phone, but from her future. That's when the conflict starts. Not between you and her, but within her. She doesn't know what to do. Reach out? Stay quiet? Let go? Come back? And while she wrestles with those thoughts, you stay calm. You stay focused. You stay silent. Because your silence is doing what your words never could. It's opening her eyes and making her feel exactly what you once felt. Uncertainty, confusion, longing. That's the power of pulling back. Not to hurt her, but to finally honor yourself. Role reversal. Now, something interesting begins to happen. The energy shifts. And for the first time, the roles reverse. She starts to notice the silence isn't going away. Not today. Not tomorrow. She waits for the usual message. It doesn't come. She checks her phone again. Still nothing. Now she's feeling it. That strange pressure. Not from you, but from within herself. She told herself she didn't care. She told her friends it was nothing. But now she's checking your page. She's watching your stories. Replaying your last message in her head. She reads into the smallest things. Why did he stop liking my posts? Why is he not watching my story? Did he block me or just forget me? Her mind is spinning. And what's worse, she can't show it. Because now, she's the one who feels unsure. She's the one who wants answers. She's the one waiting. You've taken back your attention. And suddenly, she's craving it. She doesn't know how to get it anymore. Because everything that used to work doesn't. Before, if she ignored you, you'd chase her. If she pulled back, you pulled harder. But now, you're still, silent, unmoved. And that stillness, it's shaking her. She sends a message. Maybe it's small. Hey, just wanted to say hi. Or something random like, I saw something that reminded me of you. But make no mistake, this isn't casual. This is testing the waters. She's trying to see if she still has access. If she still holds space in your mind. And here's the test. Most men fail here. They see that little message and rush to respond. They think it's a sign she wants them back. They break their silence too soon. They lose the power they built. But not you. You understand this moment. You know this is not a sign of love. It's a reaction to pressure. So you don't rush. You don't chase. You don't get emotional. You breathe. You observe. You stay in control. Because silence isn't just about shutting down. It's about standing tall. Being solid. Being centered. You see, when you flip the energy, you didn't just change how she sees you. You changed how you see yourself. You're no longer dependent on her attention. You're no longer asking for time, for love, for approval. You've already approved yourself. And she feels it. Now she's trying to figure out, what is he thinking? Why isn't he reacting? Who is he becoming? And this is where you win. Not because she's hurting, but because you're healing. You're not angry. You're not bitter. You're just unavailable. Not in a toxic way, but in a high-value way. You're no longer accessible to someone who didn't respect your presence. She may try harder. She may get bolder. She may even apologize. But whether she comes back or not, you're already winning. Because the man who stays silent is the man who finally found peace. Not by changing her, but by choosing himself. Her decision. The silence has been loud for a while now. Long enough for her to feel it deep. Long enough for her to question everything. Now she stands at a crossroads. And she knows it. She has to decide. Does she reach out and face the truth? Or stay silent and risk losing you forever? It's not an easy choice, because ego and fear fight inside her. Her ego says, "Don't chase him. He should be the one calling. He's just trying to manipulate you." But her heart says something else. Something quieter, but more honest. It says, "You miss him. You pushed him away. You might lose him." And that voice? It's getting harder to ignore. She starts thinking about everything. Not just the silence, but the reasons behind it. She remembers how she dismissed your efforts, the way she tested your patience, the little things she did, thinking you'd always stay. But now, she sees it clearly. Because you're not there to soften the truth anymore. Your silence has removed the comfort. And now, reality is sinking in. She didn't just lose your attention. She lost your energy, your loyalty, your consistency. You were steady. You were solid. You were present. Until you weren't. And now, she's beginning to understand what that really means. She might try to distract herself again. Scroll through apps. Talk to friends. Pretend to move on. But it doesn't work. Because nothing feels like what she had with you. And the worst part? She never appreciated it until it was gone. Now she's thinking, do I send a real message this time? Do I open up? Do I admit I was wrong? But she hesitates. Because vulnerability is scary. Especially when you've been strong for so long. Even if that strength was just pride in disguise. Some women, they'll reach out. They'll apologize. They'll ask to talk. And if that happens, you'll know it's genuine. But some won't. Some will let you go. Not because they want to, but because pride wins the battle. And here's the truth you have to face. Whether she comes back or not, you already did your part. You gave her time. You gave her space. You gave her silence. And that silence, it revealed everything. It showed you who she is, what she values, what she's willing to fight for, or not. And now, the choice is hers. But the power? It's yours. Because you're not waiting. You're not hoping. You're not stuck in the loop of maybe. You made peace with all outcomes. If she comes back, you'll listen. But you won't beg. You'll respond. But only if it aligns with your growth. And if she doesn't, you'll walk away. Not with bitterness, but with clarity. Because silence doesn't just change her. It transforms you. It taught you patience. It gave you perspective. It showed you that real strength isn't about holding on. It's about knowing when to let go. And in that letting go, you became untouchable. So let her decide. Let her choose. You've already done the hardest part. You chose yourself. Reclaiming your power. This is the part she didn't expect. The part where you don't just move on. You level up. You don't just go quiet. You go deeper. Into yourself. You stop checking her page. Stop replaying the last conversation. Stop wondering if she's coming back. Because now, you've shifted your focus. To your goals. Your health. Your mind. Your future. You're no longer the man hoping to be chosen. You're choosing yourself. And that shift? It changes everything. Your silence is no longer a reaction. It's a lifestyle. You wake up with purpose. You train. You read. You build. You stay grounded. You've stopped chasing people and started attracting peace. And that's when your power comes back. You reclaim your time, your energy, your standards. You no longer explain why you walked away. Because your growth says it for you. You're becoming the man she never thought you'd become. The man who once gave everything, but now gives only to those who earn it. Not out of revenge, Not out of ego, but out of self-respect. Now you're the one who's hard to reach. Not because you're playing games, but because you're genuinely busy building a better life. You don't respond to emotional bait. You don't fall for passive texts. You don't chase ghosts. You're present, but only where you're valued. You're open, but only to those who are real. And here's what happens next. She sees it. She sees you glowing up. Even if you don't post about it. Even if you say nothing. She feels your evolution. Your absence created space. Your growth now fills it. And in that space, she realizes something painful. She didn't just lose your attention. She lost access to a version of you that was once all hers. Because the man you were becoming, you weren't that man when she had you. She had the man who over-explained. The man who tolerated. The man who hoped. Now she's watching you become the man who walks in silence, but leads with power. The kind of man who doesn't just want love. He requires alignment, peace, respect. She thought you'd wait forever. But forever ended the moment you put yourself first. And now she knows. Even if she comes back, she's not coming back to the same man. Because that version of you, gone, upgraded, transformed, elevated. And if she wants another chance, she's going to have to rise. Match your energy. Bring something real. Because you're no longer impressed by looks, or words, or memories. You want depth, loyalty, emotional maturity. That's the power you've reclaimed. Not just from her, but from the world. You don't settle anymore. You don't shrink to fit. You stand tall. You walk forward. You protect your peace, no matter what. And that power? It's not loud. It's quiet. But it's unshakable. Because when a man chooses growth, nothing and no one can stop him. When you stop talking, you start leading. Silence. It started as a moment. A pause. A breath. But somewhere along the way, it became everything. It became your boundary. Your statement. Your freedom. When you stopped talking to her, it wasn't because you didn't care. It was because you finally did. About yourself. See, we're taught that love means effort. That real men never give up. That we should keep explaining, keep showing, keep proving. But the truth? Real men don't explain endlessly. They don't beg to be seen. They don't force someone to understand their worth. Because real men lead. Not with volume, but with energy. And your silence? It wasn't just absence. It was presence of a new kind. A calm, powerful, grounded kind. You didn't go quiet to hurt her. You went quiet to heal you. And in doing so, you changed everything. You gave her a choice. To rise. To reflect. To meet you where you are. Or to fade into the past. You didn't chase. You didn't fold. You stayed in your frame. And that, right there, is leadership. Because leadership isn't about controlling others. It's about controlling yourself. Your time. Your focus. Your energy. And the moment you stopped talking, you stopped leaking that energy into someone who wasn't pouring it back. That's when your life started to shift. You started reading more. Training harder. Thinking deeper. Building yourself instead of begging someone else to value you. And guess what? People noticed. Not just her. Everyone. Because a man in silence is a man in motion. Moving inwards. Leveling up. Becoming rare. You didn't need to post about your comeback. You didn't need to explain why you went quiet. You just elevated. Naturally. Organically. And now, you don't speak to impress. You don't respond for closure. You don't return to chaos. You lead. By example. By standards. By energy. And if she finally understands what she lost, good. But you're not waiting. You're not holding space in your heart for someone who only started caring after you walked away. Because you didn't walk away in anger. You walked away in truth. And the truth is, silence isn't cold. It's clear. It says everything. It says, I'm done chasing. I've outgrown this. I love myself more than your attention. And that is the moment you become untouchable. So don't be afraid to go quiet. Don't fear losing someone who never truly valued your voice. Don't hesitate to reclaim your power. With peace, not pride. Because when a man stops talking, he starts leading. And the world? It listens. If this message hit you, if you felt the silence, and you're ready to lead, not chase, then don't scroll away. Fire subscribe to the channel. Fire drop a comment. Fire share this with a man who needs to hear it. Because your voice matters. But your silence, it builds empires. Let's grow. Let's lead. Let's become the man they never saw coming.